After only 3 days in the tier, Zekrom has been banned from Uber's UU. I just wanted to go over this really quickly because I think this guy is, I think, the most busted thing we've seen in the tier thus far, and accordingly, the quickest ban we've had. And, yeah, it was clear this guy needed to go. Let's go over that. So first of all, obviously, this thing's offensive pressure is the reason it got axed. So let's go over that. First of all, its stab options are excellent. Not only does it have a huge 150 base attack, Bolt Strike is 130 base power. You've got Scale Shot with loaded dice for at least 100 to maybe 125 base power. You've also got Outrage if you really want to just blow things up with 120 base power. And basically nothing resists this combo. Really, the only relevant Pokemon I've seen running around that can do that is Iron Treads, but we'll get to that later. So this thing also has really good bulk, 100 HP, 120 defense, and 100 special defense. This thing can always set up Dragon Dance, unless you're sitting in front of, Kyurem White. You can get a Dragon Dance up. It's really easy to find entry for Zekrom. And so with Dragon Dance, you outspeed almost everything, and you one-shot almost everything. Couple that with Terravolt, just ignoring things like maybe Mimikyu or Dondozo, and you have something that can, in one turn, threaten an entire team and just sweep. Not only that, but it can also Terra, and with Terra, Zekrom can do almost anything. And the thing about Zekrom is that since we only had 3 days with it, nothing really developed into a stable meta. You had no idea what Terra this thing was going to run. It could be Fairy to immune dragons, it could be Steel to be immune, or not immune, but resist a bunch of things, Ice for that coveted Bolt Beam coverage, Water for good defensive typing and hitting ground types. This thing could do so many different things at once with Terra, and you had no idea until it was too late, basically. So it's no surprise that everyone on the council voted to ban this thing. There is just no sustainable future with Zekrom and Uber's UU. And that's because its counters, quote-unquote, really can't actually counter it. So like I said, Iron Treads is the only thing that resists its stabs. But Iron Treads is already trying to compress a lot of roles into one. It's trying to spin, it's trying to deal with all of the new psychic types, dragons in general, has no reliable recovery. Iron Treads just gets worn down way too quickly to deal with Zekrom reliably. And you have other ground types like Great Tusk and Landorus T who can intimidate it, or Tusk who can just be bulky, but again, these things can just get hit on a switch in with Scale Shot if you predict them coming in on Dragon Dance, and then you can just leave. So these things get chipped down, and they're just not good checks, especially when you can also Terra Blast with Ice or Water or whatever to just blow them up anyway. The dragons and fairies that could threaten Zekrom offensively, they also have to consider whatever Terra type Zekrom might be running, especially Fairy and Steel, which are also common on it from what I saw on the ladder myself. So Kyurem White, Baxcalibur, Palkia, Dialga, all could theoretically, one-shot Zekrom with Dragon Stab, but that's if they're not already getting outspent and destroyed themselves, or if Zekrom doesn't just tear into something, hit him again, or set up another Dragon Dance even. And the best of this was Dialga, because it has good physical bulk, but again, you can't switch in on a Dragon move with Dialga. You get hit by a Scale Shot, and you're already missing a huge chunk of your health, and just like Iron Treads, you got no reliable recovery. So Dialga, who could theoretically be a stop check to Zekrom, just can't do that job well anyway. And then, of course, the big physical wall of the Uber's UU tier, Dondozo, absolutely cannot deal with Zekrom. First of all, you're already weak to Bolt Strike, which is a huge move. Dondozo just cannot take that. And so you have to commit to a Terra that resists that, or at least is neutral to it. But then you have to get Dondozo in, you have to get the Terra off, and then, it's pretty predictable when Dondozo is coming in that you're going to Terra, right? Not to mention that Zekrom can ignore your unaware with Dragon Dancing. and so it can just blow you up anyway. So yeah, nothing actually countered Zekrom. It could easily get past all of its checks, and despite whatever you brought that might check it, you had no idea if Zekrom just had the exact answer to that. And not only that, but when Zekrom switches in, it forces an immediate reaction. You can't just let Zekrom sit there and Dragon Dance in front of something relatively passive. So you have to switch into whatever your Zekrom check or counter is. And Zekrom can really take advantage of that. Not only is it Dragon Dancing all the time, it can set Stealth Rock. It can Volt Switch if you don't have a ground type. It can just Roar or Dragon Tail you out to rack up hazards damage. Or it can set up a sub. Basically, Zekrom was just way too much for the tier. There's no consistent way to answer it. It was very unhealthy because if you played the ladder from the first to the fourth, which is how long it lasted, Zekrom was on almost every team. We'll probably see it in top usage for the end of month stats based on that 3-day window alone. But thankfully, Zekrom is gone. So now the tier can develop in a much healthier way. We'll see if anyone else ends up being busted, like maybe Necrozma Dawnwings. But nothing else is so obviously busted as Zekrom, so we can wait and see how the meta develops. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about Zekrom for a bit, and thank you for listening.